Brigadier General Robert Whitfield, United States Army, retired, stood in the entryway of my house on Clarksville Boulevard in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, at 4:47 in the afternoon, on a Saturday in April, in Army service dress uniform, holding his officer's cap under his left arm. He looked at his 33-year-old daughter Amanda, my best friend since we were 15 years old at Manual High School in Louisville, who was sitting on my couch next to my husband Marcus. He looked at his wife Susan, Amanda's mother, who had, per what she would later admit to me in a phone call in July, driven with him from their house in Bowling Green because he had told her that morning, "Susan, you are going to be present for what I am about to do to our daughter." He looked at me, Captain Sarah Miller, United States Army, 12 hours home from a 10-month deployment, still in the combat uniform I had worn on the flight from Kuwait. He said, in the specific level voice that a 2-star general uses when he is about to end something, "Amanda, stand up." Amanda did not, at first, stand up. She was, per what I could see from where I was standing in my own living room, 12 seconds away from crying. General Whitfield said again, in the specific voice, "Amanda, stand up. Your mother did not drive 4 hours from Bowling Green to watch you sit on Captain Miller's couch." Amanda stood up. General Whitfield looked at my husband Marcus. He said, "Mr. Miller, sit down." Marcus sat down. General Whitfield looked at me. He said, "Sarah, your father served with me in Iraq in 2007. He saved my life on April 23rd of that year. I am here today to return, in the specific way I can, the debt I owe him. The friendship and the fathers. My name is Sarah Miller. I am 33 years old. I am a captain in the United States Army, currently assigned to the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, in a combat aviation support role. I have served in the Army for 11 years. I have deployed 3 times. I want to tell you about my father before I tell you about Amanda. My father was Colonel Richard Miller, United States Army, retired. He served in the Army for 28 years. He deployed 6 times, twice to Bosnia, once to Kosovo, twice to Iraq, and once to Afghanistan. He retired in 2015 and moved back to Louisville, Kentucky, with my mother. He died of a heart attack in his garden on May 14, 2019. He was 59 years old. He was, per every measure I know how to apply, the specific man who shaped my understanding of what a uniform meant. I want to tell you about my father's second deployment to Iraq, the deployment in 2007 that took him to a specific compound outside Ramadi, in Anbar Province, where he served as the executive officer of an infantry battalion attached to the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. On April 23, 2007, my father's convoy was ambushed at a bridge crossing approximately 12 kilometers north of Ramadi. 2 vehicles in the convoy were disabled by roadside explosives. The convoy took small arms fire from 3 positions on the north bank of the Euphrates. 6 American service members were wounded in the initial ambush. One of them was a lieutenant colonel named Robert Whitfield, who had, at the time, been the operations officer of my father's battalion. Colonel Whitfield had been thrown from his vehicle by the initial blast. His left leg had been badly damaged. He was, per the after-action report that my father would eventually keep in a specific drawer of his desk at home in Louisville, unable to move without assistance and exposed to sustained enemy fire from a position of no cover. My father crawled approximately 40 meters through open ground, under continuous enemy fire, to reach Colonel Whitfield. He applied a tourniquet to Colonel Whitfield's left thigh. He carried Colonel Whitfield approximately 60 meters back to the position of cover his platoon had established. He then, per the after-action report, returned to the ambush position 3 additional times to recover other wounded personnel. My father was awarded the Bronze Star with Valor for his actions on April 23, 2007. Colonel Robert Whitfield lived. He kept his leg. He returned to service after 8 months of medical recovery. He was promoted to colonel in 2010. He was promoted to Brigadier General, a 1-star general, in 2014. He was promoted to Major General, a 2-star general, in 2018. He retired from the Army in 2021. He kept, per what I would later learn from my mother, a specific framed photograph on the wall of his home office in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The photograph was of himself and my father, taken in Iraq in July of 2007, 3 months after the ambush. Both men were in combat uniforms. Both men were smiling. My father was holding, in his right hand, a small folded American flag that had been presented to him by his platoon in a small ceremony the previous week. That flag, per what my mother told me at my father's funeral in May of 2019, is currently in a display case above the fireplace in my mother's living room in Louisville. General Robert Whitfield attended my father's funeral. He drove down from Bowling Green in his own personal car. He wore civilian clothes because he was, at the time, on active duty and did not want to make my father's funeral about a general. He sat in the third pew from the back. He did not, per my mother's specific memory, speak to me directly at the funeral. He and my mother spoke privately for approximately 14 minutes after the service. He gave her a specific letter he had written the previous evening. My mother has never shown me that letter. She has, per her own repeated statements over the last 6 years, kept it in the specific place your father would have wanted it kept. I want to tell you about Amanda now. Amanda Whitfield is General Whitfield's only daughter. She is 33 years old. She was born in April of 1992, approximately 11 weeks before I was born. Amanda's family and my family had known each other since the mid-1980s, when my father and General Whitfield had been young captains at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Amanda and I had, per our mother's specific memories, played together at Fort Knox military family functions from the age of 2. We met formally when we were both 15 years old, at Manual High School in Louisville, Kentucky. Both of our fathers had transferred to Fort Knox that year. My father as a battalion executive officer, General Whitfield as the deputy commander of a brigade. We were, from the first week of 9th grade, best friends. We stayed best friends through high school. We attended the University of Kentucky together. I studied political science and enrolled in ROTC. Amanda studied marketing and did not. We remained best friends through my ROTC commissioning in 2013. We remained best friends through my first 3 years of Army service. We remained best friends through my father's death in 2019. Amanda was, per what I have told approximately 7 people in my life since 2016, the specific person my father asked to look after my mother the day he died. He told her that in the ambulance, per what Amanda later told me at his funeral. He said, "Amanda, look after Sarah's mother, and look after Sarah." Amanda said she would. She held my hand at his funeral for the entire graveside service. She flew to Fort Campbell for my 30th birthday in 2022. She flew to Colorado for my ski trip in 2023. She was, when I received my current deployment orders in June of last year, the specific person I told first, before I told my mother, before I told my commanding officer, before I told my husband Marcus. She said when I told her, in the specific voice of a woman who had been rehearsing what she was about to say for approximately 6 seconds. "Sarah, I will take care of Marcus while you're gone. Please don't worry." She said it standing in my kitchen in Fort Campbell, on July 7th of last year, exactly 7 weeks before I deployed. She had, per what her mother Susan would later confirm to my mother during a difficult phone call in April, already been sleeping with my husband Marcus for approximately 5 weeks, at that specific moment. The homecoming and the discovery. I want to walk you through the 24 hours between my return from deployment and General Robert Whitfield's arrival at my house, because they will explain what happened next. I flew into Nashville International Airport at 8:47 p.m. Central Time on Friday, April 25th. My unit had chartered a commercial flight from Kuwait to Nashville. There were approximately 340 soldiers on the flight. The homecoming ceremony was scheduled for 10 p.m. at the Fort Campbell Airfield, approximately 58 miles north of Nashville. We arrived at the Fort Campbell Airfield at 9:47 p.m. I disembarked at 10:14 p.m. I looked out at the crowd of family members standing behind the specific yellow line that separates returning soldiers from the receiving crowd. I did not see Marcus. I did not see Amanda. I did not see my mother, who had flown up from Louisville the previous evening and who was staying at a hotel in Clarksville. I saw, in the specific spot where a specific person had told me they would be, my mother alone, holding a small handmade sign that said, "Welcome home, Sarah," in red crayon. Amanda's handwriting was on the sign. Amanda was not with my mother. I did not, at that moment, know why. I made my way through the receiving line. I hugged my mother. She held me for approximately 22 seconds. She said, in a voice I had not heard from her since my father's funeral. "Sarah, sit down in this chair. Right now. I need to tell you something before you go home." I sat down. My mother said, "Sarah, Amanda flew to Louisville this morning. She left Kentucky at 7 a.m. She did not tell Marcus she was leaving. She called me at 9:30 a.m. She confessed." I did not at that moment respond. My mother said, "Sarah, she and Marcus have been sleeping together since June of last year. She could not, per what she told me on the phone, watch you come home to your house and pretend anymore, so she left." I said, "Mama, does Marcus know she confessed?" My mother said, "Sarah, he does. Amanda called him from the airport in Louisville at approximately 10:47 this morning. She told him what she had done. He, per what she reported to me, said the words, 'Amanda, no,' 4 times, and then hung up on her, and has not answered her phone calls since." I said, "Mama, where is Marcus right now?" My mother said, "Sarah, Amanda's mother Susan called me at 2:14 this afternoon. She said Marcus had come to their house in Bowling Green at 12:47 p.m. He asked to speak to Amanda's father, Robert. He confessed to General Whitfield. He asked General Whitfield what he should do. General Whitfield, per what Susan told me, told Marcus to go home to Fort Campbell, wait in your house, and be there when you arrived. General Whitfield told Marcus that General Whitfield, would be arriving at your house tomorrow afternoon, and that Marcus would be present when he arrived, and that Amanda would be present when he arrived." I said, "Mama, General Whitfield knows." My mother said, "Sarah, General Whitfield has known since 12:47 p.m. today." I did not at that moment cry. I want to be honest about why. I did not cry because I was, at that moment, calculating. I was calculating who General Robert Whitfield was, and I was calculating who my father had been, and I was calculating what my father would have wanted me to do next. I did not have to calculate for very long. I stood up. I said, "Mama, please drive me home to Clarksville Boulevard. I need to change out of this uniform, and I need to eat dinner, and then I need to sleep. Tomorrow General Whitfield is going to come to my house, and I need to be prepared to receive him." My mother said, "Sarah, what are you going to say to Marcus?" I said, "Mama, nothing, not tonight. I am going to walk into my house. I am going to see him. I am going to nod at him. I am going to eat dinner. I am going to sleep in my daughter's room." Amanda and Marcus did not have children, but my mother would understand. "And tomorrow I am going to let General Whitfield do what he came here to do." My mother drove me home to Clarksville Boulevard. I walked in the front door at 11:47 p.m. Marcus was sitting on the couch in the living room. He was, per what I could see, wearing the same clothes he had, per Amanda's text messages during my deployment, worn at his sister's wedding in October. He looked, per my honest assessment, like a man who had not slept in approximately 36 hours. He said, "Sarah, I need to talk to you." I said, "Marcus, no." He said, "Sarah, please." I said, "Marcus, tomorrow. General Whitfield will be here at 4 o'clock. I will speak to you when he speaks to you. Tonight I am going to sleep." I walked to the guest bedroom on the second floor of my house. I did not, per Marcus's later description to General Whitfield, come downstairs for approximately 16 hours. I did not sleep well. I did sleep. I woke up at 8:47 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, April 26th. My mother was, per our specific arrangement from the previous night, downstairs in my kitchen making eggs. I showered. I put on the specific combat uniform I had worn on the flight from Kuwait, because I did not want, on that specific afternoon, to receive General Robert Whitfield in civilian clothes. I ate eggs with my mother. I did not speak to Marcus, who was sitting silently at the kitchen table on the opposite side from where my mother and I sat. At 3:47 p.m., the doorbell of my house on Clarksville Boulevard rang. I opened the front door. Standing on my front porch, in the specific bright April sunlight, was Amanda Whitfield. Her eyes were red. Her face was pale. She was wearing the specific white cardigan I had, per my honest memory, told her in November of 2019, was the specific cardigan she should wear every time she wanted to look like she had not been crying. She had been crying. She said, "Sarah, please." I said, "Amanda, come inside. Your father is coming." She stepped inside. She sat down on the couch, next to Marcus, who did not, per what I could see, look at her. At 4:47 p.m., a black sedan pulled into my driveway. Brigadier General Robert Whitfield, United States Army, retired, in Army service dress uniform, stepped out of the driver's side. His wife Susan, Amanda's mother, stepped out of the passenger side. They walked, together, up my driveway. The confrontation. I want to walk you through the next 48 minutes of my life, because they are the reason General Robert Whitfield came to my house that Saturday afternoon. I opened the door for General Whitfield and his wife Susan at 4:47 p.m. General Whitfield said, "Captain Miller, permission to enter your quarters." I said, "General, please, come in." General Whitfield entered. He walked into my living room. He looked at Amanda. He said, in the specific level voice that a two-star general uses when he is about to end something, "Amanda, stand up." Amanda did not, at first, stand up. She was, per what I could see, 12 seconds away from crying. Her mother Susan, standing in the entryway behind General Whitfield, said nothing. General Whitfield said again, "Amanda, stand up. Your mother did not drive 4 hours from Bowling Green to watch you sit on Captain Miller's couch." Amanda stood up. General Whitfield looked at Marcus. He said, "Mr. Miller, sit down." Marcus sat down. General Whitfield turned to me. He said, "Sarah, your father served with me in Iraq in 2007. He saved my life on April 23rd of that year. I am here today to return, in the specific way I can, the debt I owe him." He turned to Amanda. He said, "Amanda, before I say what I came to say, I want you to know that I am speaking to you in front of your mother, in front of Captain Miller, and in front of the man with whom you conducted an affair for the last 10 months. I am doing this because the specific harm you have caused was not private. It was not a mistake. It was, per what you told your mother on the phone yesterday, a decision you made in June of last year and reaffirmed every day since. Do you understand?" Amanda said, very quietly, "Yes, Daddy." General Whitfield said, "Amanda, do not call me Daddy today." Amanda began to cry. Susan Whitfield, standing behind General Whitfield, did not move to comfort her daughter. General Whitfield said, "Amanda, in June of last year, when Sarah told you she was deploying, you promised her that you would look after her husband. That was a promise. That was a specific verbal promise made in Sarah's kitchen in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, on July 7th of last year. Do you remember that promise?" Amanda said, "Yes, sir." General Whitfield said, "Amanda, approximately 2 weeks before you made that promise, you had begun a physical relationship with Sarah's husband. You made that promise knowing that. Do you understand what that means?" Amanda said, "Yes, sir." Amanda Whitfield said, "Amanda, I want you to explain to me, right now, in front of Sarah, in front of your mother, what promise you were making when you told Sarah that you would take care of her husband while she was deployed." Amanda said, "Daddy, please." General Whitfield said, "Amanda, answer the question." Amanda said, "I don't know." General Whitfield said, "Amanda, that is not true. You know exactly what promise you were making. You were making the promise that you would use Sarah's deployment. The 10 months that Sarah was going to be 5,000 miles from home, serving the country that made your and Sarah's fathers brothers, to continue an affair with her husband while looking her in the face at the airport on the morning she deployed. That was your promise. Say it." Amanda said, "That was my promise." General Whitfield said, "Amanda, say it again, and look at Sarah when you say it." Amanda turned to me. She said through tears, "Sarah, I promised you I would look after Marcus. What I meant was that I would keep sleeping with him while you were gone." Susan Whitfield, behind General Whitfield, closed her eyes. General Whitfield said, "Amanda, sit down." Amanda sat down. General Whitfield turned to Marcus. He said, "Mr. Miller, stand up." Marcus stood up. General Whitfield said, "Mr. Miller, I do not know you well. I have met you at approximately 4 family functions over the last 6 years. My daughter married your friendship with her, or so I believed. I want to say 2 things to you. Are you prepared to hear them?" Marcus said, "Yes, sir." General Whitfield said, "Mr. Miller, first, you are a civilian. I have no jurisdiction over you. The United States military has no jurisdiction over you. What I say to you today has no legal weight. Do you understand? Marcus said. Yes, sir. General Whitfield said. Mr. Miller, second. Your wife is a captain in the United States Army. In the 11 years I have been retired from active duty, I have maintained specific friendships within my former chain of command. Among those friendships is the current commanding general of the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Major General David Sinclair. Major General Sinclair is your wife's grandfather in command. He has been briefed, per a phone call I placed to him at 8:14 this morning, on the situation involving my daughter and your affair. He has been briefed on the specific timeline, beginning May 2024, continuing through Sarah's deployment, ending Friday morning at approximately 10:47 a.m. Central Time, of that affair. Do you understand what I am telling you? Marcus said. Sir, no, sir. General Whitfield said, Mr. Miller, adultery involving the spouse of a service member, when it occurs during an active deployment, is not simply a civil matter. It is, per Article 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, a potential prejudicial to good order and discipline offense against the service member. Sarah cannot press UCMJ charges against you, because you are a civilian. But Major General Sinclair, per his own discretion, can inform every command at Fort Campbell about your conduct. He can inform the specific company you consult for as an engineer, Sinclair Defense Systems, which holds a Fort Campbell contract. He can, per what he told me on the phone this morning, ensure that Sinclair Defense Systems is aware that continued employment of you may create optics problems for their Fort Campbell contract renewal in September. Do you understand? Marcus said. Yes, sir. General Whitfield said, Mr. Miller, I do not at this moment intend to ask Major General Sinclair to make that call. Sarah will make that decision. Whatever Sarah decides will be. Do you understand? Marcus said, Yes, sir. General Whitfield said, Mr. Miller, sit down. Marcus sat down. General Whitfield turned to me. He said, Captain Miller, may I speak to you privately for 1 minute? Preferably on the back porch. I said, General, please. General Whitfield followed me through my kitchen, past my mother, who did not at that moment meet his eyes, and onto the small back porch that overlooked my backyard. He said, Sarah, I want to say 2 things to you before I leave your house today. Are you ready? I said, General, yes. He said, Sarah, first, the letter I gave your mother at your father's funeral in 2019 contained a specific commitment I made to your mother. That commitment was that, if you ever, at any point in your life, needed something a general could provide, I would provide it. I did not tell you about the letter because I did not want you to feel that I was watching your life. I want you to know now that the commitment stands. Whatever happens next, I am available. Do you understand? I said, General? Yes, sir. He said, Sarah, second. Amanda is no longer welcome in my home. That decision was made by me at 12:47 p.m. yesterday afternoon, when your husband walked into my house in Bowling Green and confessed. My wife Susan has agreed to that decision. Amanda will not, per the terms I have set today, be welcome at any Whitfield family function for a period of not less than 5 years. That decision is not conditional on what you do. It is a decision I made about my own daughter. Do you understand? I said. General? Yes. He said, Sarah. One last thing. He reached into the interior pocket of his service dress jacket. He removed a folded piece of paper. He handed it to me. He said, Sarah, this is the letter I gave your mother at your father's funeral in 2019. She returned it to me last night on the phone when I asked her for it. She said she believed today was the day for you to read it. I will not, per Susan's specific request, be in your house when you read it. Amanda will not be in your house when you read it. Your mother will be in your kitchen. Marcus will be in your living room. He paused. He said, Sarah, read it when you are ready. Your father would be very proud of you today. He saluted me. I saluted him back. He walked back through my kitchen, collected his wife Susan and his daughter Amanda, and left my house at 5:35 p.m. I have not seen Amanda Whitfield since that afternoon. After, I want to tell you what happened over the next 6 months, because it matters. I filed for divorce on Monday, April 28th. 2 days after General Whitfield left my house. The divorce, per the specific expedited processing available to service members under state law, was granted with sole possession of the marital estate on July 12th. Marcus received nothing. He would have received nothing anyway, because I had, over the course of 11 years of Army service, kept our joint financial arrangements simple. Everything of significant value was in accounts that predated our marriage. Marcus was terminated by Sinclair Defense Systems on August 3rd. I did not, per General Whitfield's original offer, ask for the phone call. Marcus's termination, per what I would later learn from a mutual acquaintance, was based on the discovery that he had used his corporate laptop to communicate with Amanda during work hours. That was, per Sinclair Defense Systems' HR policy, sufficient cause on its own. He now lives, per what I have heard, in a small rental apartment in Nashville, Tennessee. He works, per what my mother heard through her cousin in Franklin, at a small engineering consultancy that does not hold any government contracts. Amanda Whitfield lost her Kentucky real estate license in June after two of her former clients, both of whom had, per the specific chain of information that neighborhood women in Louisville use, been told about her actions by my mother's friends, filed complaints against her with the Kentucky Real Estate Commission. The complaints were based on her professional character, not on any specific transaction. The Real Estate Commission determined that her conduct did not, at the time, meet the standard for license revocation. Her renewal application, per what my mother heard through a cousin, was denied in October. Amanda moved from Louisville to Denver, Colorado, in November. She lives with a college friend. She works, per the last thing my mother told me about her, in a small marketing firm. Susan Whitfield, Amanda's mother, has not, per General Whitfield's original decision, allowed Amanda into the family home in Bowling Green in the 7 months since April. Amanda was not, per what General Whitfield mentioned to my mother at Christmas dinner, invited to the family gathering. General Robert Whitfield has, in the 7 months since he left my house, become the specific mentor my father was, in his last 3 years alive, hoping I would eventually find in the Army. General Whitfield now retires to a small consultancy at Fort Campbell, where he advises the 101st Airborne Division's commanding staff on specific operational matters. He has, at his own initiative, arranged for me to be interviewed for a battalion executive officer position at Fort Campbell in June of next year. That position, if I am selected, will place me on the specific promotion track my father was on at my age. Major General David Sinclair, the commanding general of the 101st Airborne Division, attended my father's memorial service at Louisville National Cemetery in May of this year, 1 week after General Whitfield left my house. It was, per my mother, the first time Major General Sinclair had visited my father's grave. He and General Whitfield stood together at the graveside for approximately 11 minutes. They did not, per what my mother heard, speak. They saluted my father's headstone in unison at the end. I read the letter General Whitfield had given me at my father's funeral in 2019. I read it 3 days after he left my house. I read it sitting in the chair on my back porch at 6:47 a.m. on Tuesday, April 29th, before my mother woke up. The letter was 1 page long. It was written in General Whitfield's specific, careful handwriting. It said the following: Mrs. Miller, your husband saved my life on April 23, 2007. I have owed him a debt for 12 years. I have not been able to repay it because he did not want repayment. I did not know how to give something to a man who wanted nothing. If, at any point in the life of your daughter Sarah, she needs something that requires 2 stars to provide, I will provide it. That is the debt I owed him. That is the debt I have transferred, per his specific written permission, to her. She will not know about this letter. You will not tell her about this letter. She will earn her own life, per what Richard would have wanted. But if the day ever comes when Richard is not here, and she needs the specific help that his brother owes her, I will be there. I promise this to you. I promise this to him. I promise this to her. Robert Whitfield, Brigadier General, U.S. Army. I have not, in the 7 months since I read the letter, spoken directly to General Whitfield about it. He has not, per Susan Whitfield's specific mention to my mother, asked me if I read it. He knows. I know. That is enough. I keep the letter framed in my home office in Fort Campbell, next to the small framed photograph my mother sent me in August. A photograph of my father and General Whitfield in Iraq, 3 months after the ambush, both men smiling, my father holding the small folded American flag. I look at that photograph every morning. I look at it, per what my mother has told me is exactly the specific thing my father would have wanted, before I put on my uniform. CTA, 25 o'clock, 25:30, 2040 words. If you have ever been the woman who trusted her best friend to hold her marriage together while she was gone, and who came home to find that the friendship and the marriage had ended in the same specific week, I want you to leave one word in the comments below. Just one word. The name of the friend, or the name of the father, or the name of the man who saved your father's life and returned the debt to you. Say the word. Because someone in this comment section is going to see your word, and they are going to remember that the debts our fathers make are, sometimes, the debts our fathers' friends come to pay when we need them most. And if this story reminded you that the brotherhood of a battlefield does not end when the war ends, subscribe. Because next video, I am telling you about a hospice nurse who told my dying father he was faking his condition. The Chief of Staff of the Army made one phone call. I'll see you there.